Oh, good afternoon. Hi, everybody, and welcome. The last couple of people coming in, you can sit in the front row. It's not a comedy gig. I won't heckle you, I promise. Brilliant. Lovely to see you. Welcome to the John Hansard Gallery. Beautiful place. If you haven't been before, come back. It's great to welcome you to the first session of the afternoon, Spotlight on Our Young People. I'm Louise Govier. I'm the Chief Executive of Artswork. We're a charity, if you don't know us, that empowers children and young people through creativity. We were set up in Southampton more than 30 years ago by the late, great creative learning advocate Sir Ken Robinson. And we work locally, regionally and nationally, both at a strategic level and for the last decade for Arts Council as their bridge organisation across the South East, but also delivering in communities from Hampshire and the Isle of Wight over to Kent and up to Milton Keynes. So much of our recent work and our plans going forward involve championing young people's voices, enabling them to become change makers where they live. And this was something that the City of Culture bid was really interested in as well, and young people were a kind of thread throughout the thinking and planning for that. We've seen how transformative it can be when young people are placed at the centre of local debate and decision-making, both for the young people themselves and for their communities. And as Fraser said this morning, Southampton is a young city. 44% of our residents are under 30, and of course some of that is to do with our amazing universities, but there are lots of young people living here. 18.4% of them are aged between 16 and 24, which is much higher than the national average, which is 10.5%. So we've got lots of young people here, and there is real need among those young people. 18% of Southampton's children live in areas that are within the 10% most deprived nationally. So it's a lot of percentages, but that's, again, it's a lot of people living in quite challenging circumstances. However, as we heard this morning, and as you all know, we are a city with amazing assets and opportunities, great energy and great creative ideas, and many of those come from our young people. So today's session is about asking and debating together, what are we doing to put the spotlight on those young people, to enable them and give them a platform so their voices can be heard? We're early in our journey, as we'll hear more today, to become a UNICEF child-friendly city. What opportunities does this bring, and how do we make the most of them? There is, and you know this because I know lots of you are leading it, youth-focused and youth-led work happening all around the city, including projects led by the Cultural Education Partnership here in Southampton, which is a really vibrant one, and also the university-led but cross-city Pathways to Health Consortium. How can we all work in a more connected way in Southampton to place young people at the heart of our development going forwards? And to borrow Alan's phrase from this morning, how do we really give up power and keep responsibility in practice? Because that's the thing. It's such a great idea. How do you do it in practice? Well, to open up this conversation, I am joined by four fantastic people who bring very different perspectives and wealth of experience in this area, including one young person, but actually we might say that a measure of our success in this area might be if we did this again in a few years' time, it might be all young people here leading this session for the city. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to start down the other end and work back this way.
Is my microphone working? Yeah.
I think it is.
Everyone can hear me. So my name's Robert Henderson. I am the Executive Director for Children and Learning in Southampton City Council, this great city. I'm the man with the suit, basically, council suit, so I should have probably changed my attire for this afternoon. But I'm here basically to talk about our ambitions to be a child-friendly city under the UNICEF framework. And that whole ambition is around making sure that children and young people have a voice, that they know their rights, and that as a culture, as a society, and as a city, we absolutely live and value those rights and allow young people to demonstrate those on a day-to-day and tangible basis. It's also about hearing children and young people's voices. We've mentioned they were involved in the City of Culture bid, but across the whole city, absolutely in everything we do, that we hear their voices and they're part of the delivery and design of services, including our cultural services, hearing their voices about what they need, what they want, but also in terms of their voices in schools, in the environment, in regeneration projects, in transport, in our lighting, and when we're building estates in the stairwells where they can feel safe. We need their voices in every aspect of our city life. And as a council and as a partnership, we have got absolute commitment that the child-friendly city sits at the heart of that. So, let me tell you a little bit about that. So, it's a 3 to 5 year programme. We joined in February last year, and we have basically been through what we call a discovery stage, which is looking at what young people and children, and sometimes their carers, and the professionals that work with them have told us about their views and what they want to see in the city, and what their issues are, what their challenges are. And we have just come to the point where they have given us that information. We've had an online vote, we've done a number of surveys, a number of work groups, and been out in schools engaging with children and young people on a whole-scale basis, with all of those really reaching about 5,000 children and young people across all of those surveys and consultations and engagement activities. Once we've got those priorities and badges, which we have now, and I'll go through those in a second, we go through what we're going through now, which is a planning phase. So we're co-producing with young people, or across those priorities, what outcomes they want to see and achieve across the priority areas, and making sure we've got really clear action plans to deliver those. All the time, UNICEF monitoring us and making sure we're delivering on those, and we've got an implementation phase, which by hopefully 2025, we will be accredited as a child-friendly city by UNICEF. So, in terms of the priorities, UNICEF call them badges, but they're priorities. There's 3 mandatory ones. The first one is culture, which is a city that really values children, young people, and communities, and adults, and is riven with values of inclusion, celebrating diversity, respect, and equality and social justice. They're absolutely the drivers for a child-friendly city and that cultural priority. The next one is cooperation and leadership. That is us as adults, as leaders in the city, across the partnership, community and voluntary sector, the police, health, the council, really driving those values forward and making sure that children are at the heart, as I said, of everything we do, our delivery and our design. And the last one is communication, how we communicate with young people. And again, that is co-produced, because we all know we attempt to communicate with young people, and we often do that erroneously and badly at the same time. So really trying to get communication with young people about activities, about what there is to do, about services, but also about the kind of society and city they want to be in. So they're the key 3 mandatory badges. In terms of the absolute priorities young people have voted for, and there was 9, and you can look on this line because I haven't got much time to introduce this. There are 9 badges they can select from, but the 3 they selected from was first, in order of priority, was family and belonging. That is, children and young people want to live in their families, and as we've just heard, this is a very challenging and deprived city, and lots of our children struggle to live within their families. We have about 800 children looked after and those leaving care in Southampton, which is disproportionately high across the country. They say they want to live in families of all shapes and sizes, that diversity of family, but they want us to help them and support them to live in those family environments. And a sense of belonging to the city, belonging to their communities, a belonging to their schools is really important to them. The second priority is safe and secure. Young people want to be safe in their homes. We know domestic abuse is a major issue in the city, but they also want to be safe in their schools. They want to be safe on the streets from bullying, from serious youth violence. And again, we know that serious youth violence is a major challenge in this city. We're one of the highest in the country per ratio of the population. So safe and secure. And the last one is health. And I think 49 young people in our survey said they had issues around their emotional mental health. And we all know since the pandemic, that is a significant issue for children, young people, and adults across the country. And also physical health. And we know again that Southampton has significant issues with obesity, particularly at key, in school years, that rises incrementally. So they are giving us the message that those 3 things are the real priorities. And for us today, it's about how do we use culture both in terms of that value base, that the society we have, but also activities, the things we do, the places to go to really get young people to enhance what they've been saying to us, that they want to feel a sense of belonging, that they want to be safe and secure. Where are the safe spaces for children and young people? That they also want support for their emotional and mental health. So they're the three priorities. Great to have a conversation about that today, how we together collectively make sure we're driving those forward over the next 3 years until accreditation. Thank you.
So my name is Leon. I work for the council doing youth participation. I was on an apprenticeship which involved customer service. I recently just passed that with a distinction. Working with Child Friendly with Sally White and the team was amazing. My biggest priority, even in myself, was communication. As a young person that's lived in the city, I felt like the communication wasn't very well in the city. So it was just to up the communication in that. Also, just to widen that from the young people's perspective. Obviously, me, myself, I feel young people can relate to me a lot easier. So engaging a lot more of the young people into that was with myself. Yeah. Thank you.
Leon had a film to show us
Yeah.
with some young people sharing some different things, and we couldn't make the tech work. So do you want to just give us a flavour of that?
Sorry, unfortunately we wasn't able to show the video. It is on YouTube. If you was to go on YouTube, it's under Southampton City Council Child Friendly, and it's just a video that runs you through all of what Rob said about the priorities with my voiceover, which is a very good watch. It's got a few good animations on the slides too, so if you'd all go like to check that out, it'd be very nice.
Push up those, smash the like button or whatever.
Yeah,
isn't
smash
it?
the
Yeah,
like
that's
button and subscribe, because I see that they haven't got many subscribers.
Fantastic, thank you, Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Camp. I'm the Commercial Director of an agency in Birmingham called Beat Freaks. We are an insight-led engagement agency that specialises in scaling brand relevance through young and diverse audiences. We were founded by a young person 10 years ago, and she is a social entrepreneur. She's really interested in how profit and purpose can sit together. So we have done quite a lot of work in the arts and cultural space, as well as across public, private and third sector, through kind of helping organisations better understand young people and then better engage young people as well. So we were working with the team on the bid with the kind of youth engagement strategy and plans for that. We do our own internal research as well, and I'm going to draw on that a little bit today, but I guess for kind of for this conversation, I think it's interesting to think about the fact that young people, I think, don't necessarily relate to arts and culture in the way that we might expect, particularly now. Like that, you know, everyone is their own curator of their own exhibition and museum online, and they have their own radio stations and they have their own podcasts, and we are living in a world where our ideas of what arts and culture is changing, and the relationship that young people have to the word arts is different now. And so I think we've got a huge opportunity there. We know from our research that nearly 90% of young people consider themselves to be creative. So it's not that young people don't want to engage, it's just that perhaps it's not engaging them in the way they want to be. And absolutely they need to be part of kind of making those decisions on what's going to work for them. So yeah, that's kind of my take on today. I'm excited about being part of the conversation.
Thank you. And Kwame.
Oh, hello everybody, thank you. Yeah, my name is Kwame. I work I'm the founder of African Activities in the South, in UK. Yeah. Originally, when I came to UK, I traveled a lot around UK, and what I want to say is, I know much about UK as a child because we are British colony. So when I came to UK, I was expecting to know, people must know, hey, do you know Ghana? Do you like chocolate? Yeah, do you know where it comes from? And the children were like, And I said, okay, I have work to do. Yeah, it's not only for Ghana, but Africa. So we established this company called African Activities. And what we do is we take the Black and African culture to schools to engage them with positive part of Africa, not what they have. Here, mostly, when I go to schools, we practitioners, we work all over UK, and what we do is, first we examine what you read about Africa, and we know, because the questions the children ask us, Yeah. Do you have a street in Africa? Do you have roads? Do you have a car? What house do you live in? And I said, well, this is 21st century. We have a work to do. So what we do is, we take the opportunity to engage children with African activities, from music to art, dance, all you can mention. A lot of them, storytelling, to tell them the positive side, the African excellence, what do we call it? The blueprint of civilization. That's how we call it, So that's what I want to say, African activities. We are here to engage children, bring them, give them well-being and inclusion, especially children with diversity background, African background, Caribbean background. And after we visit schools, children are never the same. They feel like they have a role to play in the world as well. So I have more to tell you later. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kwame. So, here are our panel, but there's also you, and you have a chance to take part through the Slido thingy, so we won't mind if you're on your phones. Remember, what you've got to do, if you can get into it, and you've got more bars if you can't get on the Wi-Fi, you've got more bars from just the outside, go into it and then go on the green spot, spotlighting young people, and then on the Q&A tab, that's where you can put your Q&A, your questions, because at the moment, we've got one question that's about making changes to make more of cruise visitors' potential to the Southampton economy, which is maybe not, it's a good question, but it's not necessarily the most appropriate question for today's session. So do add some more that are about what we're talking about today, and then we'll come back to that towards the end. But I'm going to start by asking the panel members what they each think we could do to empower young people and bring their energy and creativity into our planning, our development going forwards. What can we do to make a difference there? Let's start perhaps down the end with Rob, but we don't necessarily have to go down the thing every time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think as we've said, it's just, it's about making sure, I think, that young people have opportunities to have their voices heard and listened to, and that action follows from that. So I think for me, from a Director of Children's Services perspective, it's about making sure our schools, our communities, and particularly our most vulnerable children have mechanisms and ways of articulating what their views are. And as I say, making sure that we do those. So some of the things we have in the city, we obviously, every school has a school council. We have a young mayor that we just started last year. We've got the second election for a young mayor this year, alongside the Lord Mayor. And, that is a real symbol of young people's rights and their ability to be part of an active citizen in the democratic processes of our city. We've also got forums for young people with mental health issues that's delivered by Solent. We have a Children in Care Council, which we call Southampton Voices Unite, which was a title chosen by them. And we also have a forum for our leaving care young people. We engage with our young people who offend and some of those high-risk offenders to try and get them to help us understand why they got to where they got to and look at some of the solutions for preventing that in the future, but also engaging them in diversionary activity. So it's also about making sure, and that's the child-friendly initiative, that all of those voices come together into a voice that represents all of our communities. And it's about getting out into our communities. We've just started a community leadership group, which is actually adults, but from all of the diverse communities in Southampton, we've got them all together. And one of the things we're asking them is, how do we access your young people? How do we hear the views and voices of them about the things they need and require? Because we know some of our communities are really disenfranchised and struggling in a range of outcomes. So how do we get in there and actually talk to young people and hear their voices? As Leon said, they probably want to talk to them a little bit more than me. But also it's about making sure that young people have spoken. They're talking about safe spaces, and we do have projects for safe spaces for young women that we've just created. But it's listening to them. How do we create safe spaces? How do we create things to do and places to go that are designed and delivered by young people. And I think we're on that journey, we're getting there, but we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, so I'll just add on the back of what Rob said about being out in the community, because a lot of young people don't get heard that are just out in the community. They may be have social workers and things, but they may not be engaging. So maybe to have people that are actually out in the community engaging with the young people and just listening to every word they have to say. Yeah.
I'm interested as well in how young people can be empowered to be playing a really active role, as well as being the ones that are kind of, being listened to, but also how are they kind of driving and being part of that change. And I think something that is, if I'm thinking with a kind of arts and cultural hat on, I think something, or any hat really, to be honest, but get the organisation ready to be able to do that work as well. So thinking about how everyone within the organisation understands what that's going to offer by having those views at the table, and also thinking about, is it about making room at the table, or is it about obliterating the table and starting again? Are there some radical ideas about how we can actually be creating organisations and systems and programmes that are very different to the ones that we currently see? Maybe it is that the traditional board of trustees is never going to be something that's very accessible for young people, and therefore is there another way? So yeah, I think, and then I guess in that preparing the organisation as well, I think there's also something around representation and language, and just thinking about how we're kind of, young people are seeing themselves reflected within organisations, that they're like, okay, yeah, no, this is a place for me, and also that we're being very intentional about the language we're using so that they feel included, and they feel like that it's a place that they're, and that they're part of forming that, how we talk to them and how we speak about them, but also kind of other communities that they might be part of.
Thank you. Love the idea of don't have a table at all. It's not just inviting people to the table, let's do away with the concept of a table. We might come back to that. Kwame.
Oh, yes. Young people, I think young people must be given a chance. Yet, we must include them. Young people, like, if we live in a house with young people, for instance, every day parents, we go shopping, they follow us, push the trolley. We should give them chance, like, give them the money, you go shopping. Yeah. Yes. Let's see what they can do. Yeah, because they want to lead the way. We don't give them the chance, something we didn't have. That's what we should give to the young people. We should, yeah, and now we are thinking, what should we do for them? Yeah, let's ask them what they want. Yeah, as Professor says, sometimes they may not say what they want. But we know, as parents, we know what the young people want. Yeah, from your house, you can take it outside there to see and know their mind. Because I work with my children in the house as well. And I know when they like something, I know you're up to something, my friend. I know, yes. And I know exactly what they're thinking. Yeah, and I say, how do you know? I say, yeah, I can see from your face. So our young people are not different from children outside. So we should look at what they want and ask them what they want and give them the space. As Alan said, we need to give them room. Yes, as music and artists, I feel like young people need a space, sometime after school or weekend, to come to and feel free. Like, oh, I can do this, this rap music, I can paint, let me show you what to do. We don't have such places. And people like us, we have such an opportunity to give to the children. But all comes to financial sometimes, yeah. And a child education depends on finance. If we don't have, because in the South we have so much, but we look so much at the bigger picture. We don't look down to see who is there. Yes. And we sometimes come down to see who is down there, who is trodden there. As Professor Tom said, we should make access for them. Yeah, because in the South, every time I go to the North or in the Midlands, I work there a lot. Where do you come from? Southampton. Ooh, that's a rich place. That's cool. Yeah, because you know, everything here is cool. Everything here is nice. New Forest, everything. Yeah, the sea. But when you are inside yourself on the pitch, you feel, oh, it's difficult. It's not easy because you're not sharing. So we need to share with the young people everything we have. So the young people will feel inclusive. Thank you.
Absolutely. So there's things about spaces and having accessible and safe spaces. Actually, the Cultural Education Partnership ran a big session where people were coming up with different ideas, and that was something that had come through from a lot of young people, that safe spaces at all times and in all parts of the city, not just the city centre, were important. And that thing about giving them the money to invest, it's been really brilliant in our planning going forwards, that in our Arts Council funding, we have a big chunk of money to give to young people to commission the things that they think will make a difference where they live. They can not just work out what they might like, but they can lead it and do it and gain all the skills and experience from doing that. I think the bigger challenge maybe is then what Amy's talking about how do we then really breathe that into our organisational structures, so that having a youth board might be one thing, but not having a board, or really genuinely being guided by young people. Yeah. And some organisations manage to do that, don't they?
Definitely, yeah. I think that integration is so important, and how they've kind of become one thing. And we've talked a lot about, obviously, being an organisation that focuses specifically on 16 to 35-year-olds. It's obviously really important that we learn how to have good intergenerational conversations, because it's not always going to work just to kind of focus on certain age groups. And obviously 16 to 35-year-olds is a massive age range. They do not all have the same ideas about how the world should be. So we need to be able to have conversations between generations and people for that to really work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to, and this is a question that's been asked in both the sessions I've been in so far, but it's always good to understand these things. What are the challenges that we face in working to co-create with young people? Anyone can go first. Who'd like to go?
I'm happy to.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a number of things. But for me, aspiration is significant. I think there are big portions of our community and our city where there is very little aspiration, and that is intergenerational. And I visited a primary school this morning in Millbrook, and was speaking to the head teacher, who's done a complete revamp of the school and made it more artistic, more beautiful, if you like. And some of the parents' comments to him of, "We're not a posh school. Why are you doing this? We're not an affluent school. Why are you trying to do this?" And there's that lack of aspiration and that comfort in not having to aspire. And I think as a system, as a community, as a partnership, we need to think about how we get those communities to expand and aspire to be the best they can be. And that is really difficult. And getting into those communities and building that trust, building those relationships, delivering the things that they want to do in that co-produced way is an absolute challenge for me. And I think the other thing about Southampton, and I've been a director in 4 different places, is that river splits the city, and there are lots of territories, and people are reluctant to move around in a fluid way to access things. So, notwithstanding, transport's also very difficult in this city, and that's something we're told all the time by parents and children and young people. But it is about how do we get young people to come out and have more social cohesion, but also how do we also deliver things in the communities they're in when it is so diverse. Mm.
That's really interesting, that point around aspiration as well, because I think, I guess being able to build that trust over time, not try and, if we're talking about listening, but that should be a long and lengthy process, and it's not often going to be a kind of quick, easy win. I think the authenticity and I guess representation comes in there again as well. Is like feeling like you're having a conversation with someone who understands you and you can relate to, and then making sure that you're kind of part of that journey. We talk a lot about if you ask young people what they want, they're going to tell you it's a skate park. It's not until you open their mind to what's possible and what they're worth. So you can't just kind of go in and ask a question before kind of really expanding what the possibilities are. I think that's really important, the aspiration piece.
Co-create for young people, I think. Sometimes we tend to do things for other people, the young people, and instead of giving them the chance to do it themselves. We always want to be ahead of them. Okay, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to be. But we have to give them the chance. We have to give them, even we, as I said before, if you have the money, you have to say, okay, what can you do? What are you going to do? We give you this chance. You do it. Yeah, do. What inspiration do you have? Yes. Especially if you are doing like performing arts and you have a bunch of talented students. Yep. And you said, okay, I want you to do this. This is what I want you to perform. Yes. But let them come up with their idea. This is what we have. This is what we want to do. Especially, I see it a lot from ethnic background. Yeah. Black people, Asians, okay, we are going to do, this is the story. We want you to do this. Yeah, sometimes so we go to school and the teacher will say, oh, this is the story. We want you to tell us more about exploitation in Africa. And I said, wow, this is a hard topic. Yeah, I can't go this. This is not African story. This is European story. So I can't go beyond such a point, you see. So I think we shouldn't co-create with children, but young people, but we give them the opportunity, yeah, to create themselves, yeah, for us to see. So that's what I think. We should always give them the power. The power should be theirs.
Yeah.
We didn't get the opportunity. Yes.
So we shouldn't be putting boundaries,
No,
bringing
no
our
boundaries.
agendas.
Yes.
Yeah.
They should be open. Yes, for them to go on and create their own. Yes.
Nothing to add on that one?
If I could just come back to child friendly as well, that kind of priority around communication, because that is one of the things young people did say. And I know, I've been in the city about 2.5 years, there is a massive amount going on. There's some really rich, fantastic projects, both universally delivered, but also in some of our communities. They're fantastic, bespoke, working with really targeted communities, and also this beautiful offer that surrounds us as well in terms of art and culture. But we're not good, young people are telling us, at actually communicating that, you know, things to do, places to go, but also the services that are delivered. And that's one of the priorities we will be driving forward. How do we get that information out to young people that's accessible to them, simple, easy, etc. And that will be a work stream that we're really working on. But at the moment, it is a challenge. Young people are telling us they need more information of what is going on and where and how they access that.
Also, just to lead on for that, it's also maybe the young person has a worker that needs to drive them forward, because they may be working with a bit of broken glass at the minute, but they need to push through a few boundaries for the young people. And then the young person will be fully engaged. They might show a small bit of interest and then get failed once more, and then that's enough, but they just need a worker to pick them up again and keep driving them on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So what do you all think are the strengths of Southampton on this topic, and accepting that Amy's not working in Southampton, or what does good look like? And that could be what you know about Southampton or somewhere else.
I can see that a lot more workers are showing a bit more passion. There's a lot more going on in the communities. There's a few projects that are being built on. And yeah, just ongoing work that I see through in the council from when I started to now. I've been with the council like 2 years. The work that and the framework that's been going on has been brilliant. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. Yep. Southampton at the moment is very strong because of bid for City of Culture. Because when I came to Southampton, very quiet. I don't meet any people. I don't see any ethnic people coming together. The only people I link up was Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean community. And when they lost the Santa in St. Mary's, yeah, and we all come together trying to get hands on it so we can get funding for it. It didn't work. And they give up forever. So after the bid for Southampton, I realized, yeah, the community is growing strong. We're linking with so many partners. People are knowing each other, coming together. And I think it's the beginning. We haven't grown up yet, but now we realize during the bids and after the bid, we realize, oh, we have everything. We can link up now. Yet, but if all those time we link up before this, we could have win long time. But yeah, but now I think, yeah, everything is picking up now. And I think, yeah, we're getting stronger. We're getting there.
Some momentum.
Yeah, momentum is there. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely from the outside looking in, it really feels like there's a hell of a lot of ambition and commitment. I mean, even just the amount of people that are here at this event, it's quite clear that this bid has had a real impact on the city, and it will continue to. And I guess if I think about, I'm an adopted Brummie now, I think. I've been there for about 5 years. But if you look at Birmingham and the impact that Birmingham 2022's had on the city, and that was all from that sense of ambition and commitment, and still a sense of humbleness underneath it all. I remember going to the city council for an event just before the sports programme launched, and there was definitely a sense of are we going to be able to do this? But it happened and it went well, and I think there's a lot to take from the fact that you are now on this really exciting journey where there's loads of opportunity by you all coming together. And yeah, I'm excited for that.
Fantastic. I'm going to go to the Slido now because we've got lots of questions on the Slido, and I will take them in order of what they've been voted on right now. So if you change it all now, I may not be able to deal with that. But the first one, and if there's nobody that feels able to speak about this, we can just say we will take this to other people. But Rob might have a thought about this. I don't know. It's not quite your area, but it's about silos. So let's break out. Why isn't there a central app and website that clearly displays our city's cultural offering to young people? It's confusing for a young person to find out what's on, as there are loads of organisations that work in silos.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just builds on what I was saying in terms of the communication. I agree. What is available, where it's available, is fragmented and piecemeal in the city. I think, our website, is a work in progress, definitely, and needs significant and substantive improvement. But we have given commitment to doing that. So you will see, developments on the website that will be significantly improving the offer to young people. But we've also got to work with children and young people about, again, how they want to access information. They may not be defaulting to the council website. Many of them won't even
do you think there's not many of them that go
but
there?
I think, not at the moment. Not by choice, anyway. But no, I think, yeah, we've got to work with young people on that communication priority and make sure we are getting the information out in the ways and mechanisms and forms that they want to access that. So that's a big challenge for us. But there's also, just some reality. We have a statutory duty to give the youth offer on our website, things to do, places to go, which was asked of us many, many years ago, and we're in a shoddy shape, so we know that, and we are putting efforts and activity into that. But in terms of the silo bit, it's difficult, isn't it? Because culture, if you want it to spring up everywhere and to be in the local level, underground, etc. So you want to encourage diversity, but you also want to know what's going on. So it's getting that balance right. But I think we are too fragmented in knowing what is happening in the city. And there are some brilliant things happening, as I've said, a whole range of projects, some commissioned by the council or from the clinical commissioning group, the health commissioners, some just coming out of government money or just out of the communities. It's beautiful to see. But we need some way of bringing that together. But I do think the partnership, which will be, I'm sure reflected in the Cultural Trust, the partnership in the city is improving. So the relationships between schools, police, the council and health is really getting much, much better from a very low base, I think. So there are examples from the Holiday Activity Fund that we get, where we deliver holiday activities, cultural activities to children who are on free school meals. That is a massive partnership piece of work. We are doing community events. So Halloween last, we went to Millbrook as a whole partnership, schools, police, the local authority, to really engage young people in art activities, sports activities, because the year previously there was significant violence and antisocial behaviour in that community. So we collectively went there and we did the same at Christmas. So there are really good examples now of the partnership coming together. But I do think our relationship with the community and voluntary sector and that tension between wanting them to be free and independent, but also wanting to be part of the collective, is developing, evolving too. And the future is about how we work much more effectively with the community and voluntary sector, both in identifying what the needs and priorities are, but also working as a much more of a collaborative system rather than piecemeal bits of grants being siphoned off here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, because there's a lot that comes through when we talk to people as well about the amount of cultural activity, and Amy was referring to it too, that we might not all necessarily consider to be creativity and culture, but which young people absolutely feel is, and they're doing it anyway, and they want to share. The Pathways to Health project is working with some young peer researchers, which is partly looking at what that is and how they define culture and creativity, and what they would want to share about that. So I think yes, that's going to be a really key thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about that one, or shall I go to another question?
Well, the only other thing, I love what you were just saying there about peer researchers and stuff. I guess the only other thing that we've seen work around kind of communicating messaging is getting young people to create and share those messages. So when COVID started, we really saw that young people were getting very scapegoated on as being, a generation that were not following the rules and whatever else. So we contacted our local authority and said, can we run a campaign with young people where we get COVID messaging out, because I'm pretty sure they're not looking on the Birmingham City Council socials. So we recruited a group of young people who then co-designed and created their own content, which went out on their own channels and kind of shared the COVID guidelines in the way that they would want to receive them. And so I guess just thinking about how, again, young people can be empowered to help play that role, the communicating role as well.
Thank you. A question for Leon. What was it that was put in place that was most helpful to help you achieve a distinction and pass your apprenticeship at Southampton City Council? And well done, by the way. This has had a lot of likes.
So I'd say ongoing support with a one-to-one mentor. She helped me push and stride to the extra mile, the extra marathon. We put in extra hours to push beyond the boundaries. Could you just say the question again?
Yeah, just what was put in place that really helped you to pass and achieve a distinction?
Yeah, that's what I would say was the main thing put in place. And then obviously in myself as well, taking the responsibility, making sure I'm doing everything to follow suit, really. But yeah, it wasn't an easy progress either. It was in myself hard to do. Had to face life challenges. Also, I joined work in COVID time, so it was a working phase through that. Then just working with a lot of other organisations to get the knowledge and skills to be where I am at now. Yeah.
So some real personal resilience as well as having a mentor. Yeah.
If I could just add as well, because obviously I've known Leon a while. Being part of things like this, being part of the City of Culture bid, being part of other initiatives, and being listened to and being respected, that elevation of his sense of self, that he has a voice, and that confidence that gives is a real example of what we need to do with children and young people, that they are empowered to feel, actually I'm listened to, I'm important, and I've got a voice. And I think that's developed Leon's confidence and obviously his ambition. I hope you didn't mind me saying it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I know that there are some really brilliant creative mentor systems and programs emerging in the city at the moment. I know Matt at SOCO is leading one for the Cultural Education Partnership, and that's, I think, a really great way to have more people out there listening and supporting. I've got one here that's had 7 votes. Our research, I'm not sure whose, but possibly the universities, our research shows that nearly 90% of Creative University students don't even consider staying here after their studies. What do you think needs to be done to help keep Creative University students from wanting to leave Southampton? Have you got thoughts about that?
Yeah, interesting. We don't want to live here. I think we need to create more space for them. It's a livelihood for them to stay. Yeah, for instance, when they talk about the Sea of Southampton, I was very pleased because water, all of us have about 70%, over 70% of water in us. And we have the sea here, which is beautiful. I don't even see a beach in Southampton. Which, yeah, if you want a beach, you have to go all around to Foley. And it's not accessible to other people as well.
Yeah.
You can only park there and watch the sea if you can walk through the sand. So we need to create a lot of livelihood along the sea coast, not only for the rich, beautiful boat and yacht, so everybody can access it. And these university people can also stay around. It's lovely because they have to go somewhere, they will get job or work by the seafront or do a lot of, when I came first, I used to work in Leamington in a care home, and I saw a lot of Spanish university people coming to work there, and I said, why do you want to come here, all the way from Spain? They said, oh, it's nice here in the forest, we can live here. So they have created space there in the forest, and Southampton, we need to create a place. We have the sea, we have every opportunity to create a livelihood for young people like who have knowledge, university knowledge, to even stick around and teach the youth and everybody what's going. Yeah, I think that's my idea.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you think young people understand the opportunities, the job opportunities there are if you're creative?
I mean, I think Southampton, and we're very much on to this growth agenda within the council and within the partnership. It is a city that's thriving economically. I know that sounds difficult in a cost of living crisis, but we're the third fast growing economy in a city across the country. So there's lots happening, but I do think, there's a history and a legacy that the skills and the jobs and the employment in Southampton have not been at that higher level, and we haven't created the environment and infrastructure for that to really thrive. And I think, we need to look at support for small businesses, for innovation, for the arts in the city, for people to develop their own businesses and create that environment and culture where that thrives. And I know that is part of the council's kind of growth and an economic plan going forward. And as I say, there are green shoots that is starting to happen. But we also need, businesses and colleges and post-16 school curricula. They need to link more into the economy and what skills are needed and required for the future and for this economy to really thrive. We've got a maritime business industry, which is fantastic. Are we developing the skills for people to go into those industries and want to stay in Southampton? I think there's also a really powerful thing about families. Families want to be in a city that's safe. That's what children and young people have told us. But they also want great schools. And we know a lot of our pupils migrate to Hampshire schools. So we've got to create really great schools. Families want to live in communities with great schools, and that's what, and be safe and know they thrive. And I think we need to attract families into the city that know their children are going to be educated to the very high standards, and obviously that's part of my responsibility.
No? Okay. I'm going to go to a question for Amy next. What are examples of organisations or places that you know where young people are leading and running activity, and what are the key differences to traditional arts organisations set up? And this person's put in brackets where they have removed the table.
Yeah. In the arts and cultural sector, I think the Roundhouse in London is a really great example of an organisation that genuinely has young people in the lead, but that's very much kind of part of their founding principles. So, of course, that's not going to be the same for everyone. But I guess there's lots of option for young people. So as artists, as decision makers, there's lots of ways that young people can engage with that organisation. So I definitely think that's part of it. And then I think I've struggled to give like a perfect example of an organisation outside of the arts that's done it really well. But I think things like I know a couple of combined authorities have had young combined authorities, and where I've seen that in Birmingham, it was very integrated into the existing board. That they, for the 2 years that we were part of it, at least, it was very kind of ingrained in the workings of how the combined authority was making decisions. So it's possible. That was very much with the table. The table was still there, but it was just a separate one. But yeah, there are a couple that come straight to my mind, but it's probably quite telling that I haven't got any really great examples.
So maybe we'll do it here.
Yeah, well,
That's the
exactly,
thing. Let's
yeah.
see what we could do. And actually, I suppose, related to that then, why does the panel think that there aren't more young people on this panel today? There are thousands of them in the city, many of whom are working in the cultural sector or in cultural education. So why the lack of representation? And it's speculation, because none of us put the panel together today. But, what do you think about that?
I think we are not the organizers, are we?
Say what you like.
So, talking about them, as we keep beating the drum all the time, which include young people in their own, ambitions. If you want something for them, we should include them in the topic. So this is a basic example of what we are talking about. We're talking about somebody and he's not here, or she's not here. So what is the impact? Are we just sitting here talking, or action is going to take place? And how are we going to take the action? I tell you, we should have 2 or 3 around here. There's nobody here. So only we, bunch of old people are old. We are grown-ups.
Leon doesn't count as old.
Leon. Yeah? Is it Leon? Yeah? You are here. Thank you. So things like this, I think next time we should add the young people, teenagers to come along, to listen to their own, what we are thinking about them, and what they think, what they want and what they don't want. Well, because some of us are talking about them beautifully. They can say, you're talking crap. You don't know what you're talking about. So, and the youth don't know what they want. So we should include them, inclusive. That's what,
I wonder if there's something, that was a very good question. It made me think, actually, should I'll only speak for myself, but actually, should I have said, no, thank you for asking me to chair this session. That's really nice of you. But actually, we should have a young person chairing this session, and we know loads. So I'll take that for next time. We're coming towards the end of our time, and then you'll need 5 minutes to go to your next one. So I'm going to end with one last question to the panel, which is, if you had one piece of advice for Southampton, what would it be? Any order?
To listen to every young person and engage every young person, and also sometimes take that extra step and take the extra mile for young people, because it could be the extra mile that changes their whole life. Coming from experience.
Fantastic.
Exactly. I think so. I think as the question goes on, we should include them every decision we take. Make sure they are part of our conversation. We can't leave them out and decide their future. The future is theirs, not ours. We've spoiled the world already for them. So we need to include them to decide, not us to decide for them. Thank you.
Okay. Absolutely.
I would just build on that. I suppose for me, it's about listening to the voices that are not often heard. And, we know when we're engaging and participating with children and young people, there are often a group of young people that feel really confident in doing that and representing really strong views. And they can be seen as representative, or actually those more marginal voices, those more disaffected voices, are the ones we need to try and empower those young people to speak and to be heard.
Okay.
And I would say, just never act from a place of assumption. Every individual young person's experience is different, and I know we've talked a lot about listening, but I think that is key. We can too often make assumptions.
And that actually, off the back of that, I would say it's about remembering to challenge ourselves every time and think, should a young person be doing this? Could we do this in a different way? Could we get rid of the table? Try and think of a challenging question. And actually, I think that there was another question that we didn't, well, there were loads of questions we didn't get to, but there was one about whether research had been done in Southampton about what young people want and what they need and are interested in culture and what their obstacles are. And loads of research has been done, but I think one of the issues is the bringing it all together, because it's all a bit different and it's sitting in different places, held by different people. But actually, we know a lot already, and then we can keep asking that question. But for me, there's a challenge about getting out of our kind of like little separate projects and really working together. And Child Friendly could be the banner under which we do that, but I think there's quite a lot of people who go to quite a lot of the same meetings around the city, and we could probably just streamline a wee bit some of that. But really, I want to say it's what you've all said about really listen, really ask, really listen. Let's keep challenging ourselves to do that. And next time, all young people. Thank you so much for all your contributions, and thank you, panel, for your conversation.